Would your family thank you for minimalizing your possessions? How might getting rid of stuff set you free to follow your dreams? Today, we continue our discussion on minimalism with speaker and coach Don Shannon, who encourages us to pursue our dreams. Welcome to the Jesus People Sisterhood podcast, a place where Christian single women aged 50 plus connect. I am your host, Janine Jordan, a Christian confidence coach and leadership mentor in Alberta, Canada.
And I'm your co-host, Ellie McCormick, a Christian longevity coach and mentor in the USA. Being single women over 50, we know what it's like to feel overlooked, to have unrealized dreams, to experience the challenges of singlehood, and to be concerned about what our future will look like. We couldn't find anything online for single Christian women over 50, so we created Jesus People Sisterhood just for you, a place where sisters encourage and empower one another through the last third of life, because you are a treasure trove of wisdom and of exceedingly great value. This is an authentic community, a supportive family, with other women on the same journey where Jesus is the center of it all. Here you will find real talk, real community, and real sisters.
Join us as we discuss building relationships, whole health, and growing spiritually. We'll review helpful books and articles, chat with guest speakers, share success stories, and have some laughs along the way. So grab your favorite beverage and we'll get started. Today, we give a shout out to our sisters in Manitoba and South Africa. Thank you for listening. We're so glad that sisters from around the world are listening to the podcast. And here's a review from 55 Gal who writes, very practical and inspiring. Fills a much needed niche to support aging women who find themselves reinventing their life as a single due to the widely varying circumstances life throws at us. Lots of useful info and resources to help you move forward. Highly recommend. Thank you, 55 Gal, for your positive review. And we are so pleased you enjoy the podcast. If you would like your review read on one of the episodes, please leave us a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. It will only take you a minute, and it raises the podcast in the rankings so that other sisters can find us too. Welcome, sisters, to this episode of the Jesus People Sisterhood podcast, the only podcast specifically for single Christian women over 50. For today's episode, we continue our discussion on minimalism with Dawn Shannon, who shares her experiences and how letting go of stuff can set you free to pursue your dreams. Forever changed by her mother's unexpected and sudden passing, Dawn Shannon quickly realized life was too short to continue to let fear dictate her decisions and experiences. She has made it her life's mission to encourage and empower women to overcome fear, shame, and doubt, replacing those limiting beliefs with bold, courageous faith to pursue and monetize their lifelong dreams. Her motto, "A plan without action is a dream deferred," drives her commitment to inspire and challenge women to evaluate their lives and harness the power of accountability.
Hi, Dawn.
Hey, Ellie, how are you?
Good. So welcome to the Jesus People Sisterhood podcast.
Thank you, ladies. It's such a pleasure to be here. I am so excited about the platform that you guys have created for single Christian women over 50. That's me raising my hand.
Yay. So we're so glad to have you today. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And we're really looking forward to today's episode on Christian minimalism. For starters, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Well, like I said, single, over 50. How about that? But I am a mom to a 25-year-old young man who is going out in the world and blazing a trail as an electrician, which I'm super proud of. I have been, in my past life, I was in corporate setting and sitting there still saying, you know what, I was meant for more, but what does that look like? And that's when it led me to become a certified life coach. And from there, went from quote life coaching to business coaching. And I tell you, ladies, the entrepreneurial journey is real. And I think it's fun and exciting, but I love working with Christian women entrepreneurs to help them to really understand that it's never too late to pursue their lifelong dreams. So I'm loving it.
Oh,
That's
great.
wonderful. Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful to hear. So let's get right to the topic of the day. What is minimalism and why is it important for you to share about minimalism from a Christian perspective? Can you start there?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, minimalism, you guys, really for me, it's about taking inventory of your life to see what is truly important, right? And like you ladies call it the last third of our life, right? To really tap into minimalism can become a true blessing, not just for you, but for the people around you. And I think it's so important to look at that from a Christian perspective because there's a lot of things in the Bible that can be misconstrued, one way or the other when it comes to especially making money. And people think, oh, we have to sacrifice everything and not have riches, but the Bible doesn't talk about that. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. When you think about minimalism, for me anyway, it can be a love-hate relationship, right? Because it's like
Mhm.
I like my stuff. I've spent years and years and years to acquire all these things and I'm happy and I'm proud. But when we transition, we leave all that behind, right? For our children to have to deal with. So why not start now to be a blessing to them and start to reduce the things that really, we don't need, right? It's really about taking inventory at this stage of our lives. What do we really need? And really kind of looking around at the things, not just the physical things, but the mental things, the emotional things, right, that we can start to reduce. And I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more of that later, but it's just so important. I've heard it called a death cleanse, right? It, which just sounds really morbid, but it really is something like, okay, do I want to leave all of this behind for my son to have to deal with,
Mhm.
right? And unfortunately, life throws us curveballs through death, divorce, all kinds of unexpected events. And how many times are we moving things from here to there? And all these unopened boxes go from here to there, right? You're like, why do I keep moving this box? I don't even know what's in it. So really kind of looking at things from a holistic standpoint is where are we right now in our lives and is it really important to hang on to these things?
Mhm. Yeah. How can transitioning to minimalism help us receive blessings in our lives?
Yeah, like I said, not just our lives, but the people around us, right?
Mhm.
But I love in Luke 12:34 where it says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. I love that because when we embrace minimalism, we begin to shift our focus, right, from accumulating stuff to valuing relationships, experiences, and even spiritual growth, right? And what I want to really say to the audience is who you are, your identity is not tied to your stuff, right? Think
Mhm.
about like if you were to invite a blind person over to your home, right? They wouldn't be looking at your stuff going, "Oh, I'm really impressed. She has a big nice house. She has all these great furniture and decorations and all that," right? They just care about you. They care about who you are as a person. And that's what is really fun about thinking about your life and your surroundings and being a blessing to others is who am I to be a blessing to others, not what have I accumulated, right? Accolades, stuff. I just keep calling it stuff, right? But we can be a blessing to others when we detach from that stuff, right? It allows space for us to invest our time and our energy into what really matters. And that really is finding those connections with people, building true relationships in the kingdom with kingdom people so that you can have, not just earthly blessings, but heavenly blessings as well. And so another verse that I love is Matthew 11:28 through 30. And this is some paraphrasing on my part, but it says, "Come to me, all who are weary, burdened, stressed, overwhelmed, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." How many of us are burdened by the things that we've accumulated over decades, decades and decades and decades, right? Well, removing those things helps us to draw closer to God because we have more time to be with Him. We're not so busy cleaning a huge house or moving stuff from here to there, right? At this stage in our lives, I'm blessed personally to be able to draw closer to God because I've created space, right? Mentally, emotionally, physically to focus on Him. Where before, in my younger years, I can't say I didn't have that space. I didn't create that space, right? And so now it's really being intentional about where do I want to spend my time? And who can I be a blessing to without worrying about all the clutter around me? Like that doesn't matter. At the end of the day, that doesn't matter. Being with people, making time for people, that's what matters. And that's what's so important for all of us.
Yeah. I can't remember the reference that there's a scripture about a man's life is more than his possessions. Do you know the one I'm talking about? I can't remember the reference, but
Yeah, I can't either.
it's just so true is that I don't know why a lot of us are somehow defined by what we own. Is that that's what makes us who we are when it's absolutely not. Right?
Right, right,
Yeah, very
exactly.
true. So I have a question about minimalism is just minimalizing what we own, the things that we have in our life, and it's not just actual physical things, but it's also just all the stuff in our life, in our mind that takes emotional and mental energy. But there's a lot of people who have trouble letting go of stuff. So can you address maybe what causes that kind of blocking of letting go of stuff?
Absolutely. So, you guys, like I said before, by this time in our lives, we've experienced things, right? And so there's transition. Like I said, death, divorce. My mother passed away in 2016, and that was very sudden. And my brother and I were left with all the stuff, right, that she had left behind because she wasn't planning to die within 2 months of finding out she had a brain tumor. And so we were left behind with that. And there was a lot of emotion around that, not just losing her, but then going through all of her stuff. And I can tell you that some things were easy to sift through and other things were not so easy. Now, mind you, my mother passed before my grandmother passed. So I still had my grandmother here, and she grew up in the Depression era, right? And so things were valued immensely back in those days because things were scarce. And so there's a lot of guilt sometimes that can come around that when, you've got someone in your ear saying, "Don't you get rid of that. That's valuable. I spent my hard-earned money on that." And you're like, "I know, Grandma, but I don't like it. I don't want it." And so really wrapping your brain around that it's okay to let things go that aren't serving you, right? Unless it's a true family heirloom, right? I mean, I wouldn't suggest getting rid of that, but something that just was important and valuable to them, but it's not for you. Why not let that go to someone else and let it be a blessing to someone else? I don't know if you ladies ever go to the antique stores, but you go and you look, you're like, "Oh, yeah, we had that set of dishes," or, "Oh, I had that doll," or, whatever, right back in the day.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
someone now looks at that like, "Oh, that's so cool. That's from the 60s or the 70s or whatever. I want that." Why not let that stuff go and be a blessing? Now, I'm not saying that it's not going to be emotional. So you definitely have to get ready for that emotion. Some, like I said, some guilt can be tied to that. But just know, like right now, my mom is gone, my grandparents are gone, they're all in heaven. I don't think they're up there going, well, she gave that away, right? I told her not to. I think they're up there going, you know what? She is living her best life, and all that stuff didn't matter anyway. I have the important things, the hand painted things from people in my family who were artists. I have that. So keep the things that truly are valuable from a family perspective, but all the other trinkets and things like that that have been accumulated, let it go and let it go with grace, knowing that you're blessing someone else with that.
Right. Right. I think that you're so right about going through things. My mom passed away in 2008, and we had boxes and boxes of things to go through too. And some things were difficult and some things were, a little easier to get rid of, but I still have some boxes in the basement. And I'm sure I'm not alone in that. I'm sure there's other people that have these sort of stashes of things, but you're right. We never go and look at them again, and we carry them with us when we move and things like that. So it really is practical to keep just a few pieces and not have our loved ones have to deal with all of the things that we may have loved, but they may not
Right.
necessarily love so much, right? So,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I've still got boxes of my mom's, and I'm like, unfinished projects, right? How many
mm,
unfinished projects did she have? And there's one thing that a quilt, she did some quilting, and there was one that's just the perfect size for a pillow. And I'm like, you
right.
know what? I'm gonna make a pillow of that one day. Well, one day it hasn't come yet, but it will.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Hmm. So I have a question. Okay, how can minimalizing things help us to pursue and even monetize our lifelong dreams? What about
Yeah.
that?
Oh my gosh, I love this topic so much because primarily I work with, like I said, Christian business women, and pursuing and monetizing your lifelong dreams is so important to me. I can't tell you how many times I meet women, and especially you guys remember 2020, what happened, and things were not as stable as we thought they were going to be. Really made us look at our life, right, and go, okay, what are we doing here, right? And
Yeah.
people who are in a corporate setting may not know about starting and growing a business, but the passion that they have inside of them is really a God-sized dream, especially if it's something that they've been thinking about for so long, right? Year after year, oh, I wish I could do this, or I've always wanted to do this, right? Whatever their passions and dreams are, that really is something that God placed inside of them. And you know what? Not everybody needs or wants to monetize those dreams, but it certainly is doable, right? And so when you minimize things, again, when you kind of declutter, right? You declutter your space, that spurs creativity. So
Mm.
every time I declutter my office, which I'm raising my hand to say it doesn't always stay clean and clear all the time. So there are some decluttering going on from time to time, but every time I do, the creative juices in me start flowing.
Mm.
So when you minimalize and you really take away those decisions that just aren't necessary, right? Then you can start to make other decisions. That's when, for me, those God inspired ideas come for new products or services to share with my clients, new topics to speak on, whether it's on a podcast or on a stage, even new books to write. And then what about like if you don't have clutter and you can just pick up and go, how great is it just to pick up and go and have those experiences that you've wanted to do for your whole life, right? I remember when I was a little girl, don't look, they're all gone, but don't tell my parents. So I would go in the living room and under the little side table, I would grab a Sharpie and I would go under and I would draw like a treasure map, right? On the furniture. And I would do the whole X marks the spot, right? I mean, I was an adventurer, an explorer from early days, but life happens, right? And we look for that security and that safety net and the things that just kind of keep us stuck, right? and you start to accumulate people and things and experiences and work and all these things, and your life goes by and you're like, I haven't
Hmm.
explored like I wanted to. So now when you can really just not have those things to worry about because you've gotten everything in order. You've decluttered your calendar, you've
Hmm.
decluttered your home, you've decluttered your office, you've decluttered your mind, right? At this stage, probably we're not getting our kindergartners off to school unless it's a grandchild, right? But you can, and I hate to say you can declutter your kids, right? But you can declutter that and really go and experience life the way you've always wanted to. There's nothing holding you back unless you let it.
Yeah, you bring up a lot of good points.
There's a lot of decluttering there. You can declutter the cat, declutter the,
Yes,
you don't have to declutter not just the people, but the animals. It can be freeing.
absolutely. My brother still has my mom's dog, and I'm
Mm.
like, I am so glad she gave that to you. That dog is not holding me down.
Well,
Ah,
one of the
ah.
things you brought up about traveling
Mm.
and experiences is I know
Mhm.
that with my children,
Yeah.
and this goes back to things versus life experiences, is that probably I can't say that there's no gift that they got for birthday or Christmas or something that they didn't cherish and remember, but probably the overwhelming majority they've forgotten, but they
Mm.
remember more the time we spent together, the things we did, the places we visited. That is much more lasting, right? As far as
Absolutely.
relationships go. The things are to be used.
Right. That is so true. Ellie, when you brought that up, I just had this thought, when I was teaching, it's not what you're teaching. It's not what you bring like to the classroom or the things that they do and all those kind of things. You know what they remember? They remember the relationship. They remember the you and how much you cared about them. It's so true. That's where we should put our focus. Hmm.
And so
Yes.
things, and they could be things stuck in your mind too that just
Mm.
shouldn't be there. They can be such a big hindrance. We really do need to
Clean it out.
debunk that, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Limiting mindset can keep you stuck more than your physical surroundings sometimes.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right.
What you believe
Mm.
is then
Yes,
what becomes reality.
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I know, and
Hmm.
I'm just throwing this out there. I mean, I just have so many friends. My mom was my former mother-in-law, and then people I know, it's just older women tend to just keep a lot of stuff. My mom was kind of a pack rat. My sister used to say, "Why is mom keeping these old dolls that we had as children, like thinking someday they're going to be worth something?" I don't think they ever were. And it's just this funny thing that we have that we hold on to these things. And yeah, so we just need to have a prayer time and a good talking with ourselves and the Lord about why we're keeping certain things.
Mm.
Yes,
What for wisdom
absolutely.
of Lord, what do you actually want me to keep that
Mm.
is useful for my life and bless other people?
Right. Right.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so assuming that people listening are thinking, gee, maybe I should minimalize. Should you ask for help minimalizing? And
Mm.
if so, when?
Oh gosh, what a great question. So, you guys, my biggest thing at this stage in my life is accountability. And you're going to go, why is she bringing this up, right? Well, back in the day, I didn't want anyone to tell me what to do. I knew it all, right? Because I didn't want to look stupid. I didn't want to ask for help, none of those things. But now I'm the accountability queen because I've seen what it does in my life and the blessings that I've received from being held accountable. So you're asking, should people reach out about becoming a minimalist or even considering it? Yes, absolutely. Because like I said, whether you're forced into minimalism by, those life events or you choose it, it's still hard either way.
Mhm, mhm.
It's
Yeah.
still hard either way because you have all this stuff, and having that outsider's perspective, whether it's a friend, a family member that is trusted, right? That doesn't have any skin in the game and can really be honest with you, right? Or even if it's hiring a coach or a counselor, right, to deal with the mental stuff that goes on when you're going through that. Having that person to really help you go through that process is so key because here's what I like to say. When you start, like start with the room that you live in the most, okay? And you're going to create four buckets really. What you are going to keep, what you're going to donate, what you
Mhm.
can sell, and what's the third one, fourth one? I had it. Sorry, you guys. I'm like, what's my fourth one? Anyway, I'll think of it in a minute, but think about what you're going to keep, right? And if you are really having a hard time figuring out which bucket to put things in and they're all in the keep bucket, you're not mentally ready and you need that outsider to come in and say, okay, let's talk about this. Why is this thing important to you, right? Who
Yeah.
could it bless if not you? Who could you bless with it, right? Or can it bless you if you sell it? Maybe you've got some nice pieces that you can give, not give, but exchange at a consignment store, right? And make some pretty decent money. Who knows? Maybe you have those dolls, right? The Cabbage Patch dolls, and they're worth hundreds or thousands of dollars now. You never know, right? And so, really, having that outside perspective coming in, holding your hand, right? Locking arms with you and saying, you know what, we're going to get through this together. And if you need to cry, you can cry during the process. It's okay. I'm not going to judge you. But let's look at what is the end goal, right? If you're doing it out of because you want to and you're not forced to. Okay, why? Why did you choose minimalism? What do you get? What's on the other side of that once you do release all of this clutter, all of this stuff? What do you get to do then? What's the exchange? You're always wanting to know what the exchange is for the why. Why did you even consider this? And having that person to walk alongside you is super important, especially on those hard decisions.
Right, right. Would you give any advice as to the type of person? Because I just think a lot of times when we want to share something with somebody, you want to be careful on who you choose to share with. So, do
Right.
you have
Yes,
any kind
that's
of
why it's the
suggestions on?
yes, the trusted the trusted friend. So if you have a family member that you know is going to have some sort of feelings around you giving these things away, maybe don't ask them to come over, right? Don't ask them. So grab someone that you know is has your best interest at heart, is very supportive and loving of you and your decisions, not someone that's in opposition of what your dreams and goals are that you're ready to pursue. So you definitely want a trusted friend. And again, it may be someone completely out of your friend group, your family group. You may have to hire a professional organizer,
Hmm.
right? You can hire a professional organizer to come in, and they are really amazing about helping you to really see where things go and say, okay, you really don't have room for this. So let's go ahead and donate it, get rid of it, whatever it is. Trash was the fourth bucket. So keep, donate, sell, or trash it, right? Some things just need to go in the trash.
Hmm. Do you have a testimony or no testimonies of positive testimonies of how freeing it is to minimalize your life?
Well, the biggest testimony is me right now because what I will say, and this may sound crazy to some, but a couple, I don't know, it's probably been 2 or 3 years ago, I decided, you know what? I'm going to do the RV life. I'm going to get rid of everything, right, that I don't need and pare it all down into enough that's just going to fit into my 28 or 30-foot RV or whatever, right? When you take that viewpoint, and that was something I wanted to do, that wasn't forced, right? But it really helped me to see what I was holding on to that wasn't serving me or my son or anyone else, right? And that freed me to say, okay, you know what? If I want to get rid of everything and go live in an RV and travel the United States, then I can do that because I'm not hindered by all of this stuff. And my son now won't be hindered when it's his turn to come and look at all my stuff and go, why did my mom keep that? So I think for me, it was so freeing when I got rid of so much stuff. I mean, I pared it down, even though the RV life has, God has blocked that for whatever reason. But you know what? I've exchanged it for something else. But it is so freeing to know that, you know what? I don't have to worry about all of these things that filled a whole house full before that was really taking my time to consider, where does it go? Do I need to clean it? Is someone coming over? Now I need to put it up. All those things. It's just so freeing to know that I can get up and go whenever I want because I've decluttered and removed so much from my life that it just is a blessing to me now just to be able to get up and go whenever I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the fact that you did it and that you pared down so far. And though you didn't necessarily get to do that, I mean, obviously it was good that you did it, right? And that you can walk the walk and talk the talk. That's just wonderful. I'm just wondering, where can our listeners find further resources to help them understand and pursue minimalism?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, for me, it was the RV. I can't tell you how many hours and hours of YouTube videos I watched about minimalizing to live the RV lifestyle. So that's one place they can go. But I
Yeah.
also have I also have a great resource on my website that they can go to, and it is a 90 days to launch workbook. And it's like any project that you're thinking about starting, whether it's decluttering or a business idea or anything like that, it really is going to help your listeners to look at everything, right? And just brain dump everything, every thought, every hope, every dream, every goal that you've ever had, and really prioritize that to be ready to say, okay, I don't need this anymore. Or maybe I do need this. I'm going to hold on to it and see, right? But any project that they have within 90 days, they're going to have a really good head start on what that is going to look like and reduce, reuse, recycle. That's what I love to say, but right. But yeah, that 90 days to launch workbook is a great place to start, especially when you don't know why have I had this dream in my heart for so long? And how do I pursue it? And so that'll really help them to dive in and see how to go about pursuing and even monetizing if they want to their lifelong dreams.
Hmm.
Wow.
Okay.
That sounds like a good resource.
Hmm.
So we always ask our guests, I want to say always, but maybe don't always. But I think we have always asked, what would you like to share with single Christian women over 50?
Hmm.
What I would like to share is if you have a desire in your heart and it's been there for a while, even sometimes decades, that is likely a God-inspired dream and it isn't to be ignored any longer. It is never too late to pursue your dreams. And I know you ladies have talked about that as well. And it does break my heart when I see women who place self-imposed limitations and they just are like, for lack of a better word, they're victims, right? They're victims of circumstance or thoughts or beliefs or experience. And I just want to say, break those chains, ladies, break those chains because it is not too late to pursue your dreams. It's just about getting connected with the right people to spur you on, to motivate you, to encourage you, and to help you create that plan of action to really, really realize, you know what, I've been holding this for too long. It is time to move forward, and God's got my back, right? Go to the Lord in prayer about that dream that He has placed in you. He put it there, right? This is not something that you concocted on your own. He put it there. So go to Him and say, Lord, what would you have me to do in this last third or last half or whatever of my life? What does that look like? Show me really what it is that you are allowing me the freedom and permission to do at this stage of my life, and show me what I need to eliminate from my life to be able to pursue that.
Mm.
Right, right. So good. And the
Mm.
idea also of surrounding ourselves with the positive people,
Mm.
because who we're around is who we're going to be like. So
Right.
definitely people are going to encourage us to do that. And also realizing, hey, if the voice is saying all the bad, depressing things, well, that's not God.
Right.
No,
It's not God. That's not your loving father saying you can't do anything, there's no purpose,
Mhm.
right,
God doesn't
right. He
God
he
doesn't play
imposed
those
no
things.
limitations.
Yeah. So
That's right.
amen.
Yeah,
Amen.
no,
Amen to that.
that's just very encouraging. Wonderful, Dawn. Yeah. So we just want to thank you so much for sharing with us today. And we would like you to share with our listeners how they can contact you.
Yeah, absolutely. So they can go to my website, which is jovistrategies.com. That's JOVI strategies.com. And they can grab that free resource right there on my website and connect with me as well. So thank you, ladies, again for this time and sharing with your listeners. I look forward to connecting with them and you more.
Ah, that's wonderful.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much for being a guest today.
Mhm.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. Please share any thoughts that resonated with you from today's podcast episode in our private Facebook group at Jesus People Sisterhood Community. Start reaching out to other single women and create your local group of Jesus People Sisters. Please let us know about your group to add to our directory by contacting us at support@jesuspeoplesisterhood.com.
Have you had a good experience with a business? They've treated you honestly and helped you at a reasonable price. Please let us know. We would like to start a directory of JPS friendly businesses. Let's care for one another.
Until next time, be blessed by him who is able to protect you from stumbling and to make you stand in the presence of his glory, blameless and with great joy.
Hey, sister, before you go, thank you for listening. If you found value in today's podcast, the best way to say thank you is by leaving a 5-star written review at Apple Podcasts. That raises us in the rankings and helps other sisters find us too. And please tell a friend or post it on your social media. If you're a single Christian woman over 50, this podcast was created specifically for you. The Jesus People Sisterhood is your community to find support and friendship with other sisters who can understand. Be sure to follow us on your podcast app and join our free private Facebook group at Jesus People Sisterhood Community.
Jesus People Sisterhood has also started a private Facebook group for housing and co-living opportunities. You can check that out at Jesus People Sisterhood Senior Housing. You can also find us on Facebook at Jesus People Sisterhood and individually for Janine at riseupcoachingandconsulting.com and for Ellie at samaramountain.com. And ladies, this is the necessary disclaimer. Our podcast content is for informational purposes and does not constitute professional advice from mental health, medical, legal, financial, or other areas. The opinions of the guest do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host. It is our heart that this podcast will be a blessing to you. Together, let's build a powerful sisterhood with Jesus. Make a friend, add a sister, across the border and around the world.